call this meeting to order. I'm going to ask Commissioner Davis to lead us in an invocation and pledge.
Pray. Dear Father, thank you for this day. We also thank you for the many blessings that you provide us as we go through our day-to-day lives. We ask that you to bless this nation, our Lord, and bless the state, our community. And we ask that you be with each and every person represented here today, and the business that we conduct is pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning to all. Roll call, all commissioners present. Adoption of the agenda.
I need to add one to this.
Okay, I'll let you vote. One guy's two people.
You know.
I don't know about that. I want to add to the agenda, discussion and possible action on the work week at the road department and the, getting paid bi-weekly.
I don't think he took, I think he stole your thunder.
On the agenda.
I think he stole your thunder, Mr. Mayor.
Maybe Public Works number 4.
Public Works number 4.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion to adopt. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Petitions from the public?
There are none.
None? Okay. Approval of the minutes from the regular meeting for January the 23rd.
So,
Have a motion, second. Any discussions? All those in favor?
Oh, no, no.
aye.
Okay. Consent agenda. One item, Appalachian Center Contract Services.
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, we have no unfinished business. Mr. Lonnie, I think you're up, on the constitutional law. I'm sorry, I jumped to constitutional law, so I apologize. I think we have, who wants to go first? You want, Bill? You want to go first?
Sure. In front of all of you is the statement of actual and estimated revenues and expenditures. I just want to point out to you on page 1 of the revenues through the year, just in the general fund. If you scroll down about the middle of the page, we collected about 61% of our anticipated revenues in the general fund. And by that same token, if you flip to the first page where the tab says expenditures, you still have the same general fund. You'll see that we've expended about 16% of those revenues. I'm just going to start providing that monthly to you. So if you have any questions, you can come to my office, contact Brian, one of the other, and we will answer whatever questions you may have. There are a couple of copies here for the public if anybody wants one. If you want one and there's not one available, please come to my office. I'll be happy to email it to you or whatever I need to do. Unless there's questions for me, that's all for me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Mr. Hardy, I understand you would like to speak. Mr. Hardy? I thought I saw him in here. Sheriff?
Yes,
I'll
sir.
go ahead and move to you. If you want.
You ready for constitutional officers?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can do that now.
I got a few things, if y'all got just a minute.
We do.
The first was, and I'll let Merv introduce himself and tell you something about what's going on with him and with the sheriff's office. And I can fill in the rest, and then I've got a couple other things I need to discuss with this board today.
All right.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I have, man, you all, come on up. What we have here is, I'm quite sure you all know that for the past 9 years, we have been serving our community. It's our BOCC Kings organization, grassroots organization we started to try to assist our community with the crime rate, just change the morale of our community, to making our youth respect them with the community more. And it's working, it have worked, we've been potluck forever. These are some of the parents that have came out and just say, hey man, listen, we are with you 110%. We don't charge you the money, have not have ever done that. So we have been blessed with the opportunity to present at the Restore the Hope training in Orlando through DJJ. It was in November of last year, and we rocked it. That's what Madison do when we go somewhere, give us an opportunity. We're gonna show you how we get down. We rocked it, man. He loved us. The assistant secretary reached out to us and said, listen, we want to support you all. We want to give you our funds to continue to do what you do. So we had entered into a partnership with our sheriff department, which is my friend. I call him a friend. I've been supporting him since day one. We started out in my man cave in my backyard. That's where this guy came. He came and spoke to our board, and we only had probably 7, 8 boys. He came to the man cave 9 years ago and presented. So now we have a building, 147 Southwest 1st Avenue. And while I'm on that, we're having a ribbon cutting ceremony on the 28th. I'm going to invite all you handsome gentlemen, including you, Austin, to come out and take part with us. We'll be 501c3, government shutdown for a while. It delayed the process, so it should be any day now. But the partnership is through the sheriff department. The money's going to filter through them, and I'm quite sure Elk, my man Elk, he's a whiz. He's been keeping us grounded. So it's all looking good now. It was executed on the 11th, but they can talk more about that. But I want to share with you all the regular great things in the community. We love you all support in what we're doing. We got family, we got parents. Boys and kings, if the parents not involved, we cannot do nothing. So we have our parents, and that's one of the reasons we're able to stand today. And as you see, it took out their time to come up, and it's only a portion of them. It's all for our youth and our community. So James Mountain Preparatory High School partnered with us on Saturday. We painted the headquarters. It was amazing. We got people of different races, gyms working together to do something. So that's my pitch. I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Elk. You wanna share more about that?
Just real quick, before the sheriff elaborates some more, this is a contract, it's not a grant. It's a contract through the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice. For it to be successful, we have to participate. We're doing lots of participation through in-kind services of no cost to the project or the Voice of King program. So administratively, we're going to be administering the program, which will cause for a budget amendment, because we have to keep those dollars separate. I'll be coming back before y'all, as this thing, even though the contract's executed, it's not fully up and running, and our target start date is March 1st. So as all that begins to materialize, we'll come back before y'all with a budget amendment. It's a wash. You'll see the revenue portion coming through the sheriff's office, and then the expenditures going back out to the Voice of King program, 100% wash. There's no other additional charges involved in that program. And then I'm gonna turn it back over to the sheriff.
What I wanted to tell y'all was a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, I got a call from the secretary of DJJ. He said he wants some of this. He said they've come down and presented, they asked them to present at the DJJ conference, and we want their program. This is the head of the DJJ, his assistant was talking with us, and they said, we've got some money. I said, he said the issue is, the way they have to present their money is to do it as a competitive grant, where we get out there in the market and they have to present their program in a competitive, but he said, we don't wanna do it that way. We wanna guarantee it, but we can guarantee you if you will partner with Merv Matera. He said, I understand you know him. And I said, oh yeah, I understand. And so we started this process, several meetings, and it has turned into, anytime you deal with money from the state, or it's a quagmire. I know y'all dealt with it. I've spent hours and hours meeting with these guys. They've worked through this process. It's guaranteed money. They're gonna give us a minimum of 50, and the promise of more. This is gonna be an experimental program for them, but they love what they heard. And I could talk the rest of the day about the details, but I'm gonna tell you something from me. And I take this personal. I saw a video the other day, it was a derogatory video against the sheriff, about me personally. And part of that derogatory video was that the problem with the sheriff's office is our deputies just come down to these different communities and we arrest people. Our deputies don't play basketball with these young men. And I said, yeah, that's true. And I said, and that's the problem. If that's what your expectation is, if you don't understand, the only way to change a young man's life is called time, and it's called mentoring. And that's what this program does, and this is what he gets it. Merv and this group gets that. I can spend one day playing basketball with a young man, and it may help him out for a day. But if I can't spend time with him, quality time to mentor, then I'm wasting my time. We've got over about 15 deputies now that by name have dedicated, are gonna be dedicating, have signed up for this program, along with these parents. It doesn't have to be a parent, is what people don't understand. I didn't have a parent in my home. I was a single family of mom raised me. And men in the communities spent time with me and mentored me. And that's why I am today. I'm no rocket scientist, but I don't go around breaking the damn law. And it turned out that I'm a sheriff now. That's not because of my own doing, it's because the men in the community took time to spend with me. This is what, in an eggshell, this is what this program does, so I'm supporting it personally. And I'm gonna continue to do that. They're gonna give him a few months to prove himself, and I'm sure it's gonna do well. And then they've offered him more money, and we partnered with him. But this isn't my doing, this is their doings, and they get it. And I'm gonna back them up, boy, when we say back them up, we have already spent hours and hours on this thing. It's not just something simple. But we appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity, and so here we go.
Yeah, and a little more, this first round of this program, the first round, we anticipate it will end June 30th, we'll run off the state's calendar. All right, so they'll start again July 1. So probably soon in the near future, we'll start getting information on what may kick off starting in July. But we're set for what's gonna happen starting March 1st through June 30th with the BOCC Meeting program and the partnership with the Sheriff's Office.
You guys have any questions?
I'd like to comment, if you don't mind.
Comment.
Just so you know, Merv, we go back a long ways too, but yesterday or Monday and yesterday, Brian and I were down in Kissimmee to an economic development summit. And we was doing roundtables, and part of mine was doing how do we get around or how we resolve the soft skills issues in our communities for preparing our folks for the workforce. And just, we was going around the table with soft skills, proper dress, proper demeanor, personality traits, communication skills, all those things. And, we started talking about programs in the high school and even at the college, in the community college levels, teaching folks about soft skills, preparing them for the workforce. And I said, well, we don't need to forget about one. Soft skills occur when they're young. We start developing personality traits, communication skills, manners, and everything else at a young age. And I mentioned boys to kings around the table. And there was a commissioner from Calhoun County. He said, oh, I know Merv. I said, well, everybody knows Merv. he said, man, he's got a tremendous program over there. I said, he really does. He's doing a great job, and he's made a lot of strides. Commented about your son, what he's been able to accomplish, with his, communication skills and speeches and stuff. So it was good, and that's what it takes to, a community effort. If we're going to build a workforce, that's our goal, and to do that, and I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, before I be rude, Sheriff, don't mind, can I have this do themselves, please?
Sure.
This for one, this is my queen, my wife, and I'm beside every good man should be a good woman. So I don't mind representing mine on, I don't care what stage I go on, this is my queen right here. And, would everybody introduce themselves, if you don't mind?
I'm Kimberly Adams, of course, again.
I'm Tamara Johnson, Boys King.
Wanda Nolan, Boys King.
Melvin Jackson, Boys the King.
Tamika Gallen, Boys King.
Tanisha Tompkins, Boys King.
Alright, and man, we just want big, and there's more of us, and, you know, just come through and check us out, we've got some good things going on, alright?
Thank you.
Alright, thank you.
Mr.
Merv, I want to compliment you and your group. You know, we build a house from the foundation. We don't start with the roof, and it starts in the home and the community. And I compliment you on what you're doing, whatever we do to help.
I appreciate that, sir.
Want to comment also, thank you for what you all are doing. I witnessed a lot of what's going on in Madison County, and we do have some opportunities out there with our young people. And what it's gonna take is somebody coming forward to do something about some of the things that we can enhance in our community. And thank you all for what you do.
I'm gonna throw a plug in this and I got y'all attention. Now, we have a house now, but it's too small. I'm just putting it out there. Guy, man, Mr. Olive, Larry Olive,
Yeah.
awesome guy, man. He donated to us a pool table and a room for it. 'Cause we got a table tennis table in there already. We got this and that. So the house is already getting too small. So just keep it on your mind, guys. Right?
Mr. Matera, let me have a laugh. Listen, we have been friends for years, and I thoroughly enjoyed our race 4 years ago, I guess 3 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we had a good time. We were not combatants, we were friends. I have one suggestion for your group.
Yes, sir.
Let Denise talk.
You
said open house is the 28th of this month?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
This month,
What time?
5:30 p.m.
Okay.
5:30.
Hey, thank you all, right?
All right, thank you all.
One other quick thing, while we're talking about grants separate from Voice of Kings, before the sheriff goes to the other agenda. I've met with Mr. Kelly. JAG-C is finally coming through. We had to articulate things a little bit different because we left money on the table. If you remember, we're going back to 2017, still trying to get those dollars, okay? They released them, but it's moving at a snail's pace. Finally starting to pick up a little bit, but they don't like it when you leave money on the table. Well, the particular JAG-C that was written back then was 100% for salary benefits. Well, once we realized funds were being froze, we started cutting back, minimizing what we would use, not knowing when we might get those funds back. So they gave me an opportunity to do an addendum to an already approved JAG-C grant that we had made application and award for, to utilize those leftover dollars that were on the table. It's a little over $5 grand, that we can move towards some unexpected maintenance costs that we have going on within the communications center. So I look to, the salary and benefits for 2017 is already being expended, so I should be able to do a financial claim pretty quick, get it in, get it back, get it closed out, because it's difficult, because they took that 17 grant and made it a 19 grant, so I'm gonna be running 2 JAG-C 19s with the 19 numbers simultaneously, which is very confusing. But, so I wanna get this one first closed out, so we should have these dollars, I'm hoping, within the next 30 to 60 days is my plan, on 2017's JAG-C. But, just an update for you on that. That's all I got.
Just a couple more things, Mr. Chairman. One thing relates to traffic enforcement in Madison County. I wanted to bring to public, that we do have a traffic enforcement unit. The DHSMV, stats are a year behind. We just got 2017 stats for the state of Florida. That includes citations written in Madison County. In 2017, there were over 11,000 citations written in Madison County. The Madison County Sheriff's Office wrote 54% of those, over 6,000. The Florida Highway Patrol wrote 39% of those, and the other agencies wrote the rest. To me, that's very important. To clear up some untruths, our deputies write citations at 85 and above on Interstate 10. We don't look at you if you're under that. So if anybody tells you that we're a speed trap or anything like that, you can tell them that's hogwash. 85 and above. What's confusing somewhat is a lot of those tickets come in at 79. because the state allows our deputies the prerogative to write those down, write the number down. Although they were clocked at 86 or above, they can write it down, and it's a kind of a middle ground. It's not letting them go, but it's not giving them the worst that could happen. It saves them some money. The clerk then unfortunately has the responsibility of collecting that, and I think the ratio is probably around 50%, 60% at the end of the day of citation money that's collected. The county gets very little of that. We get about $30 that goes to the court, and then the clerk then graciously turns around and applies that particular money back toward our bailiffs. That's why we can have bailiffs over there. That's not 100% tax money. And we get some training money, about $4 to $4.50 out of the citation for training. And then about $11 goes to our communications center, because we have a joint communications center. And those are dedicated monies. We can't spend that for anything else. That money has to be spent on the communication center, the training money, training on the course of court. So I just wanted to clear that up, and for a benefit to you guys, I would like to know anytime if you have a complaint on traffic in your district, I need to know about it. I brought Odell Livingston with me this morning. He heads up our traffic unit, and he's very good at what he does. I had a complaint the other day, 53 North, where they've been working 53 North, and there's been some people crying out there, but I'm gonna tell you, on 53 North, if the speed limit is 55, they ride them at 70. There's no excuse for anybody doing 70 miles an hour in the 55 zone. I don't wanna hear the complaint. I mean, they can come and complain, but I'm not gonna be crying with them, I can just tell you, there's no excuse for it. We had a complaint down on Bentley. They're working down on Bentley right now. And I believe the county manager, if she hasn't already, there was a lady, and I'm not gonna call her name, I know her name. She may have already come to see you about the possibility of getting speed bumps on that street. There's some drag racing stuff going on. These guys have been working it. And I would always support this commission building speed bumps when the proper procedures are taken. There's a petition process and all that, I understand that. If that's all done and that were to happen, I would always support that, because speed bumps are a deterrent. If you go out to Yellow Pine, I can tell you, the traffic cutting through Yellow Pine out there is way less than what it used to be because of speed bumps at work. So, but if you have a specific complaint on traffic, we have these guys that they're dedicated, and the way we're able to do that is we just pull from the shifts, and that's what they do, and they're very good at it. So I want to applaud them, and if you have any complaints, please phone to us, and we don't mind working that on these areas. A couple other things real quick. I believe that there's been some estimates done. We sent Dennis Pitts to a camera school, for the lack of a better word, and he takes care of our camera systems at the jail, and I understand he's got a proposal. If it hasn't been presented yet, we'll be presenting the proposal for this annex and the courthouse in conjunction to clean up what's the problems we're having with our cameras, and I would just suggest to you also that y'all do that. It would help us, again, firm up a little bit of security for the annex. One last thing, we got a call last night from DOT, and this is between the county manager and the chairman and our county attorney, that DOT is telling us that out there where my office is, there's 3 acres, and then there's 11 acres behind it. The old DOT traffic site, the 3 acres that my building is on, is the old FHP site. Those were both donated to us. I know the county attorney has spent a lot of time dealing with that, trying to get these deeds, but they've announced to us that the deed for the 11 acres has not ever been deeded over to Madison County. So now they're having to go through, they're getting dinged for fire inspections and all this stuff, and I said, well, all I can do is relay it to the board and to the county attorney that apparently that deed has never been finalized. So it's the 11 acres that's not where our gas pumps and things all are. If you don't mind.
I can address that if that'd be okay.
That'd be fine.
I got a call again, from DOT as well. What had happened was when we were doing that before, and I think it's been a year or two now, that, we got the where the old highway patrol station, your office is, that has been deeded. That, property behind it was, not deeded. They were doing some environmental work on there, and And so we were getting the assurances that they would stay responsible for that environmental work. At that time, we also had to get the gas tanks that y'all are using switched over, which of course y'all have done years ago, I think, at this point. And then we also had an issue with that tower, because they were requiring that we honor that lease, which of course we're happy to do, but we needed a copy of the lease that they had leased out so that we know what we're honoring. And then at that point, it kind of just dropped with DOT, and they didn't get us that. So I got a call from one of their assistant general counsels yesterday and reiterated all that. So we're very happy to take the property. We're very happy to honor the lease. We're all of that, but we need to actually get a copy of it, and then we need to get the assurances on the environmental contamination. And then she said, yes, that was their understanding too, and they'd work with us to get that done. So hopefully we'll get that put to bed pretty quickly.
Thank you, I appreciate that, because that is one very nice gift we got from the Department of Transportation. That
Absolutely.
property.
And if push comes to shove, we may just have to take it not having that lease. I mean, I hate to do that, though. We want to know what we're agreeing to honor. But, you know, it's that tower, and, you know, they have the towers actually, I don't remember all the ins and outs, but I think the tower was actually owned by a private company, and then there's antennas on that tower and all of that, so that's what you have to honor when, you know.
Mr. Reeves, isn't that tower, FHP's tower, are these?
And we're talking about there's a second smaller tower back there.
Okay. I know what you're talking about. Okay. You're not talking about the big tower.
See, those state agencies, I believe that tower is technically, it was used by FHP, but the big one was the Department of Management Services actually had the lease.
Oh, okay.
And that's just the way the state, you know, operates their stuff.
Yeah, and ironically, we have no antennas on that tower.
No,
Over at the high school.
yeah. But we're talking about the other tower, the other little,
I
like
think
small
maybe
antenna.
both.
Yeah.
I think maybe both.
All right,
Okay.
that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to ask something, I guess maybe for Ep. He's talking about the video stuff. I know the college is looking at and testing out a new, web-based, cloud-based, video system, and it's called Verkada, Verkada.
We're looking at a system through Ambiguity.
It's a broadband based.
It is, it's cloud-based. They're referencing as, instead of, it's cloud-based fiber. Instead of running true fiber, it's cloud-based fiber. He's certified in it now where, we could actually, once it's up, okay, the deal is trying to weigh out the initial overhead investment. Okay, it requires components that cost dollars that aren't in the budget. So we've gotta look at that, but it goes as good as I could actually have a monitor and watch my bailiffs and courtrooms from my office. You could do it from your cell phone, and it's quality, good digital video versus, you can't even identify somebody sitting in our bailiff's desk over here in this annex. That's how bad the video is.
That was the only thing I was gonna mention,
Yeah.
the technology out there today. I mean, right here on the phone, I can monitor parking lots at the college right now live.
Right.
And you can actually, I can select a zone, and just that little part of it, and it'll go back and capture everything that's moved across that zone for the last however many hours. For security purposes, you know, I mean, it's pretty good. I don't think that the college has actually went full tilt with it yet, but they're testing it. But it's pretty good, and I don't know what.
Yeah, it's some outstanding new technology.
I can talk to you a little bit about it. I talked to Dennis a little bit, he was at the courthouse the other day, about what he's thinking, I mean, after the meeting,
Okay.
about what it is, and
I was just talking with our IT guy, he showed me, just something.
He just finished, completed an IT school for a week on these cameras, and it's very good. And one other thing he just finished for us, of the radiator on our backup generator went out, $5,000 bill from Ring Power, and Dennis was able to do it for a $1,300 part. I mean, that's what kind of stuff he's doing. He's good at what he does, so I'll see him, tell him you appreciate him.
We're very fortunate to have Dennis, and I want to publicly say that to everybody. It's unimaginable how much money we have probably saved over the last several years with Dennis.
I got one thing. Sure, I don't get to interact with your guys all the time, but I do get to interact with Odell quite a bit. And I know I've told you this personally, but I want to say it publicly. I've had more than one occasion where somebody called my office and told me that was the nicest officer that they've ever had to deal with. And so I tell Odell that all the time, but I just wanna make sure everybody knows that. And he's very good at what he does, and I appreciate him on my end, because it helps me for complaint calls whenever I get them, so.
I'll give you a ticket with a smile.
I want to just echo that comment. I had a person stop me and tell me that they got a ticket, but it was the nicest ticket they had ever gotten. And Odell, thank you.
I know they're working six, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, one other thing, I did run into Dennis yesterday at one of the auto parts stores, and he updated me as to what he was doing, and I did thank him for it. He mentioned that he had been off to school, IT school, I guess you would call it.
It was.
But we do appreciate what he's doing.
All right, thank y'all here.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Hardy.
You know, jumping on Dennis real quick, I want to thank the sheriff because after hours, Dennis has helped us on our building. One quote on cameras was like $4,000 and the next quote was $19,000. And because he cut us a break. So after hours, Dennis even helps for the county. Last Wednesday, I got an opportunity. I was one of 5 counties that was picked to go before a House committee. And it was interesting. There was 225 House representatives sitting up there. And they wanted to talk about the good and the bad about the election cycle. And so there was some stuff that we brought up in Madison County that's affecting the whole state. One is public records, voter information, what should be out there and what shouldn't be out there. And I bring that up, y'all, because I know y'all are going to your legislation day. I think it would be neat, or we should, since we don't have a representative right now, we should share our stuff, what the clerk needs, property, what the county's looking at, and share it amongst each other. So when we go before the people that we go ahead of, we can also talk about what your needs and my needs is. The 16, 17-year-old pre-registers, that information should not be accessible to anybody. And it is. And there's some more stuff. So if y'all see emails coming from me on our priorities, I'd love to see y'all's as well. Greenville election, like I said 2 weeks ago, is set for March the 12th. It's gonna be 4 people running in 2 seats in that race. On the House District 7, that we got the dates, it's April the 9th, and for the primary election, and June the 18th. As of this morning, qualifying ends tomorrow, but as of this morning, there's 4 candidates running, and as of right now, it's just Republicans running. If that's the case, then only people on April the 9th that'll be able to vote are Republicans. Because, I mean, if it stays the way it is, everybody will get to vote. If somebody else comes out, then it'll only be Republicans. There's some talk of somebody else coming out, but we won't know that till tomorrow.
When did you say that general election date was?
General's, June 18th.
And if it stays only Republican, you won't have a general election.
Correct. It'll only be the April 9th, I'm sorry. Mr. Reeves, did a resolution, that's in front of you, and going back to, the vote centers or mega centers. In that committee meeting that we talked about, that was one thing I talked about. Bay County was sitting in the crowd, and I had his numbers. He did a meeting amongst all the parties. NAACP was there, and there was another organization. And they asked questions on a private, where you don't know how they voted. And they got an 87% turnout the way they did the mega centers, which is huge in the election world, as much chaos as they were going through. I haven't had the first phone call that says we don't need to do the vote centers. Apparently in the paper that they said that on this election that you'll be able to go to any of the precincts or go to your precincts. I'll get with them after this meeting and correct that if we approve this. If we approve this, I'm gonna go through it real quick because we got some more people in the crowd. We'll have 4 early voting sites just like normal. They'll be opened up just the same early voting hours as they normally are. And then on election day, those same sites will be open, plus sermons. And I don't care where you live in the county, you can go to any one of those sites. So if you live down there on 14, which is 14.6 miles away, you can go to sermons instead of having to drive all the way to town. And so I think it's a win-win for every. They're looking at about a 17% turnout on this election. I hope not, but it's a way that voters can go, it's more accessible to them. Plus it'll save the county some money.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
This was not, it's not on the agenda. I think if y'all want to consider it, you would add it to the agenda. You'd have to amend your agenda. But if I can, the kind of the meat of it is on page 2. We've got paragraph number 2 says precincts. It says it deals with precincts, which of course are set with by the supervisor and the board acting together. And it says, on the effective date of the resolution, the county shall have only 1 precinct, the boundaries of which shall be the same as the boundary lines of the county as set out in section 7.40 of the statutes. That section actually has the legal description of the county. And then the precinct shall not be changed except consent of the supervisor and the board. So this would set it at 1 big precinct for the whole county. Now the actual polling places, that's not a function of the county, that's a function of the superintendent, or the supervisor. And so the polling places, that part just says that the supervisor will designate several polling places, but that any voter who is properly registered within the county to vote is allowed to cast his vote in any of the polling places. So that's the meat of it. So if y'all want to consider it, you need to amend your agenda and consider it.
Well, say the board, you want a motion to amend the agenda?
Yes. That'll be my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to amend the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Same sign. All right, we'll amend the agenda. So may have a consideration, we'll have discussion, and if we have a motion first on the,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
since this wasn't on your agenda, you probably do need to open it up to the public and
Right.
see if any of the public have any comments, and then accept the motion second.
All right. Do we have first I'll take a motion to, motion, second, do I have a second? Second?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
since the public has not seen this,
Right.
we need to read it in its entirety.
I would recommend that, Mr. Clerk, would you be kind enough to read it?
Sure.
And, so the public can know what to comment about if they want to.
All right. This is resolution number 2019. It will be 02-13A. A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Madison County, Florida, altering or creating precincts for voting in Madison County, Florida, providing for a repeal of conflicting resolutions and providing for severability and providing for an effective date. Whereas Madison County is a non-charter county, as that term is used in Article 8, Section 1F, Florida Constitution. And whereas the county is given its home rule powers by the Florida Constitution, Section 125.01, Florida statutes and other provisions of the Florida law. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners of the county is the governing body of the county. And whereas the supervisor of elections of the county is the county officer charged with the responsibility of, among other things, conducting elections within the county. And whereas Section 101.001, parentheses 1, Florida statutes provides that the board, upon recommendation and approval of the supervisor, shall alter or create precincts for voting in the county. And whereas the supervisor has recommended a plan for the alteration of the precincts and polling places within the county. And whereas the board finds that the plan proposed by the supervisor is reasonable and in the best interest of the electors of the county. And whereas the board wishes to implement such plan and alter the precincts and polling places within the county. And whereas the board has complied with the requirements imposed by Florida law for the enactment of this resolution. Now therefore, be resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Madison County, Florida, that number 1, recitals. The above recitals are hereby incorporated into this resolution as if restated herein, and constitute the legislative findings and intent of the board. Number 2, precincts. Pursuant to section 101.001, parentheses 1 for Florida statutes, as of the effective date of this resolution, the county shall have only one precinct, the boundaries of which shall be the same as the boundary lines of the county, as set out in section 7.40 of the Florida statutes. The precinct set in this resolution shall not be changed in the future except with the consent of the supervisor and the board. Number 3, polling places. Pursuant to section 101.001, parentheses 1 Florida statutes, the supervisor shall designate several polling places at suitable locations within the precinct. Any voter who is properly registered to vote within the county shall be allowed to cast their ballot at any of the designated polling places. Number 4, notice. The supervisor shall give notice of this resolution to both the Florida Secretary of State and the public as provided by law. Number 5, repeal of conflicting resolutions. All resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. Number 6, severability. It is declared to be the intent of the board that if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this resolution is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by a court of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions hereof. Number 7, effective date. This motion shall become effective immediately upon adoption. And then it's the resolutions and some, you
Yeah.
testify.
Okay. Comments from the public? You wanna have a comment? Mr. White?
Just one quick comment, and it's not about the, anyway, when would the books close if it turned out to be a multi-party election? So if I needed to change my party affiliation.
29 days prior to that election, and I'd have to look that up, but it's 29 days prior to April the 9th or June the 18th.
Okay, and the other, if it's just the 4 Republicans running, does one person have to get 50% to win the election?
No.
No.
Whoever
Just a
wins
majority.
wins, the majority.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I have a motion in a second. All those in favor? All opposed, same sign. Motion passed 5-0. All right.
Anything else, Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. If you will see me after the meeting.
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
One other thing to update on the sheriff's office. I've been in communications with the clerk, to all think back on the power lighting and the relighting of the power. The government shut down FCC permitting and, all right, well, finally, it's gonna happen. We had to get an extension with FCC and FAA and all these other acronyms due to government shutdown stuff. That's happening. Y'all did direct the clerk and I to communicate, and, as we move forward, I think initially we were around the $15,000 signs. We can do the lights certainly for that, but the fall cable exceeded that a little bit. That is a requirement to have, to be in compliance. The other thing that we're doing simultaneously is testing the fire department's, main feed, which is, some additional cost involved, which gets significantly more expensive if they find problems. And the clerk has those costs, based on a quote that was provided. But, when they're up there, what they have to do is disconnect the antenna, guy at the top, guy at the bottom, they put it under load and they see what they're losing and where they're losing it at. If they don't see anything obvious when they're climbing the tower. So there's an itemized list, and the clerk can attest to that, of the different things that, if we're wrong, what it would cost to replace them. Which we all know, and the clerk can attest as well, that the Sheriff's Office Fund 34 cannot support those costs. There is reserves and fire as well to help support those costs, if in fact there is a major deficiency in that particular system on that tower. So just an update for you as we're moving forward. I mean, because when they're there, it's not like you can quit. We've identified a bad antenna or some bad transducers or whatever, that they're gonna have to go ahead and fix them while they're on that tower. So just a FYI update for you.
Are we just talking about that one particular tower or all of them?
No, that's the only tower that the county owns. The other
One.
towers are lease towers, they're responsible for those. We got equipment on them,
Okay.
okay, but the only county-owned tower is the one that's behind the high school.
Yeah, just so we're clear with, so that's one behind the high school, and
That's what I'm talking about.
we did, we discussed that at the fire board meeting this week, and I stressed to them that they needed to go ahead, all departments needed to go ahead and check out their equipment, like you mentioned the other, at the last meeting, about checking their ground equipment, and making sure everything's good on the ground, trucks, and antennas on the trucks, et cetera, but I thought, they were under the impression we were gonna go ahead and do that tower climb.
Inspection. But,
Yeah,
you know,
but
while we're relighting, we're gonna
Right.
do the inspection and the test.
we
And
explained
then
to
if
them.
there are deficiencies noted or identified, then that will be the time we have to do the
Right.
repairs.
Yep. What time frame? Have you got a time frame on this tower climb?
The equipment is in-house, so I look for, it could happen one day this week or next.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tricia. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna move ahead to new business.
Ms. Butterfield?
No, I'm sorry, Ms. Barfield, come, no, call too long, come forward. Well, Lisa's not here.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Murr. I'm sorry that he left, but I wanted to thank him for the job that he's doing. Him, his queen, his team, and the sheriff's office for working with him. They are our future, and I'm proud to see that going on. Also, I want to back the sheriff up with the cameras. That's much needed here in the annex. This is my folks, and I want to make sure that they are being watched over and taken care of. So I certainly want to back him up in anything we can do to get that rolling. The main reason I came today is to have this free advertisement and publicly put out there that March the 1st is the last day to file for exemptions, homestead exemptions, any ag classifications. Kenya is actually in charge of processing all these exemptions. She makes sure that all of them are qualified. David is actively out in the field now working ag applications, making sure that they are duly ag classifications, and we'll be sending out our approvals and denials. But it is important that we get the word out and let people know that March 1st is the deadline for this. So we wanted to take that opportunity today to let folks know that. Also, I just wanted to update you on our CAMA system. Our attorneys are actually working actively together for the CAMA system, GSA, and our association. Looking at the contracts, we just want to make sure that if we have a situation like we did last time, that we can get out of it, and they're working the language out, and hopefully in the next week or two, we'll have that ironed out, and we'll be moving forward after that date. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions for me? Yeah, there's a senior exemption too. All the exemptions are actually listed on our website. The senior exemption amount this year, and that's a household income, is $30,174. That's for low-income seniors. So if their adjusted gross income is below that amount, they would qualify and much deserving. Also, if you have a senior exemption long-term, that means that you have lived in your home for 25 years. There's an additional exemption for that, which you as the Board of County Commissioners pass. So that is for low-income seniors as well. There's veterans, there's a whole list of exemptions that folks may be entitled to, and you can go to our website, madisonpa.com, and go under exemptions and look at all the qualifications to meet those. And if they have any questions, we ask you not hesitate at all to give us a call. Have anything for me? Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee. All right, I think we've got all the constitutional officers. Anybody wanna see if Ms. Tootin wants to come over? Only one we missed. I'm gonna jump over Public Works and jump to new business. And number one, discussion regarding Cherry Lake Camp. I'm gonna ask Mr. Morris Steen, who's been patiently waiting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to address the commissioners today about the camp at Cherry Lake. But first, I want to give you a little bit about my background. I was a 4-H member since I was 10 years old, and I camped at Cherry Lake every year from the time I was 10 until I was 18, with one exception. During my time at North Florida Community College, I served on the 4-H Advisory Council here in Madison, and I was one of the judges for the Tropicana Speaking Contest for a number of years. Down in Taylor County, I chair the Henry Davis 4-H Scholarship Committee, and that's a committee that has put together funds to ensure that no kid could not go to Cherry Lake because of financial reasons. We make sure of that. We endowed that scholarship this year with the University of Florida Foundation, and that generates about $1,200 worth of income every year to send kids to school. This past October, I was appointed to the Florida 4-H Foundation and assigned to the 4-H Camp Committee. And that's when I found out that we were down to 3 4-H camps here in Florida. When I was a teenager, we had 6 camps. We had one over in Clay County, 2 down in Ocala. We had Tempucci, Cherry Lake, and Cloverleaf. So in 50 years or so, we're only half of what we once had. And I'm concerned about the viability of these camps. We can't afford to lose another one. Annually, we have about 3,000 campers that go to Cherry Lake. And that's 4-H campers and other groups that go out there. 27 counties, including Madison, Taylor, and Jefferson, use Camp Cherry Lake. In the past 9 years, 8,000 campers from have used Cherry Lake. And this past year, Madison, Taylor, and Jefferson sent 241 campers. Over the past 9 years, we've sent nearly 2,000 campers. Cherry Lake is really our camp. It's a vital component to the 4-H experience. And it's also that for the other 26 communities that's served by that camp. Cherry Lake is an economic development issue. And by that, it has a financial impact here in Madison County and our surrounding communities. Most of the summer employment comes from the local area. The food that's purchased for the campers and the staff is purchased from local merchants. People coming in to visit campers are dining in our restaurants. They're buying gas and they're consuming lodging here in the county and in our community. The good news is there's a major renovation project that's going to occur at Cherry Lake this year, and that's the camp pavilion. I've laid out a schematic, gives the architectural concept of the renovation. It's going to cost $750,000, but we already have more than $500,000 committed to that. So what I'm out here trying to do is raise money to close that gap. The University of Florida will match in minimums of $1,000 any contribution. So of the $250,000 that we need to collect between $500 and $750, we really only need to collect $125,000 to get that matching. And we've already had several major commitments. So we're well into this process. The end date that we're looking for on this campaign is June the 30th. So I'm seeking financial support from the commission and from individuals, and I can assure you that the 4-H'ers will greatly appreciate what you could do. Any questions concerning the camp? It's one of those things that we won't miss it until it's gone. So,
I just have a comment. Appreciate the work you're doing, Mr. Steen, as far as being on the, I think, the foundation and whatnot. But Cherry Lake is important to our area. I have personally contributed down through the years to help with the scholarships so youngsters can attend this camp. And I've attended some time there as a youth also.
Well, and it's our camp, it's in our backyard, you know, to let something like that go away is a reflection on us, and we should do everything we can to keep that camp. We won't miss it until it's gone. So,
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to be able to take a look and see what we can do and come back to you at the next meeting with the recommendation of, you know, what the board could do reasonably. That way it's not anybody on the spot.
I think we wanna help you out, Mr. Steen, and I think, so we're gonna table this until the next meeting and let the clerk bring us back some options on what we can do. I think we support you, and I think we wanna support this financially, but we need to take a look at where we can certainly do this. So I thank you for coming, and, thank you for your presentation.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move to number. We're going number 2 under new business, resolution, 2019-02-13 designating that all parks in the, unsupervised areas of Madison County be tobacco-free zones. And I'm gonna, looks like our group has come forward. Ms. Riker has brought her army of students up here to talk to us. Introduce yourselves.
I'm Amy Phillips, the president of James Madison Park High School SWAT.
I'm Leah Fincher, a student of MCCS SWAT. Chloe Klein, I'm a student of JMPHS.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Amy Phillips, and thank you for allowing students working against tobacco, also known as SWAT, the opportunity to present to you today. Today we are proposing a change to the resolution number 2010-04-07 to include all county parks designated as tobacco-free zones. Resolutions do help model tobacco-free behavior for youth and children, as well as support safe, clean, and smoke-free environments. Even though resolutions do not have an enforcement component as an ordinance, resolutions promote positive health messages to the community. Tobacco use within the parks is decreasing due to the resolutions within supporting signage. However, much work is still needed to decrease tobacco use and the emerging epidemic of electronic nicotine delivery systems among youth.
Whereas tobacco kills more Americans each year than alcohol, cocaine, crack, heroin, homicide, suicide, accidents, fires, and AIDS combined. And whereas almost 90% of smokers started before the age of 18, and the average initial age is 14 years old. And whereas 3,000 youth become regular smokers each day, and 1/3 of these children will die prematurely from tobacco-related illnesses. And whereas more than 2/3 of Madison County middle school and high school students report exposure to secondhand smoke. Whereas over 5.4% of Madison County middle and high school students report currently using smokeless tobacco products in 2018, and whereas over 16.4% of Madison County middle and high school students report currently using electronic vaping in 2018, and whereas improperly discarded cigarette and cigar butts contributed to litter and minor but offensive pollution of our county, and whereas to help model tobacco-free behavior for children and youth, and to provide children, youth, and their families with a safe, clean, smoke-free environment. The Madison, Florida Department of Health Tobacco Prevention Program will be happy to provide signs that promote a friendly and positive health message for the parks. We propose that all Madison County parks be designated as tobacco-free zones. Thank you for allowing students working against tobacco to the Board of Madison County Commissioners, and for promoting a healthy environment for our community.
Y'all have any questions?
Commissioners?
No questions, but comments. Appreciate the work that you all are doing, and I think it's something, that's needed.
Totally agree. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you, Ms. Wright.
Motion's in order, I would make a motion to approve the resolution.
That is in order, and so motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, same sign. 5-0.
Is this the signage that,
These are signs that we have right now. We actually have 6 of these, ready to go to Parks and Recreation to hang up. If there are more signs that are needed, we will be more than happy to supply those to you. We will just have to purchase more.
And I guess
Did you show that to the public?
my understanding that, Mr. Gardner's gonna be helping with us putting up the signs.
That is correct.
we'll install the signs at each park.
Okay, good.
This is-
Hey, thank
Back
you.
up this way, Harold.
We wanna get a picture of that. We wanna get a picture of that.
We can do that later.
Okay.
All right, thank you all.
All right, thank you, Ms. Riker. And thank you, students.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna, call a 10-minute break. Be back at 10 after 10.
I'm trying to figure out why you were here.
On to number 3, I guess Mr. Mark will be in.
no shame and no
So, no, he left there. All right. Review of the possibility of approval of memorandum of understanding between this village and the Madison County Board of County Commissioners to work together to develop a plan improving the the prevention, treatment, and recovery services according to the specifications of the HRSA Rural Community Opioid Response Planning Grant. Mr. Reed, you want to speak to that?
I think that's Mr. Coffin.
Or Ms. Coffin, go ahead.
Yes, sir. As you see, it's basically a memorandum of understanding between us and this village. There's no funding. Part says both parties agree that the understanding of this MOU is not committing any funds. Basically, just supporting this village as they try to help in the opioid crisis. Down there at the first page, it talks about the role of the Board of County Commissioners, and basically, we're just assisting where we can, to help them.
Any comments?
Motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion to approve the resolution in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, 5-0. All right, the federally funded, summer grant and agreement with the emergency management, for, $147,751.93. Mr. Al William, come on up.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
As y'all know, like, Sheriff mentioned earlier, and Chief Deputy, when you're dealing with federal, state, and local money and funding, it gets a little tied up. The paperwork that the chairman has today is an agreement between the state and Madison County to receive the funding reimbursement from Hurricane Irma. Hurricane Irma was back in 2017, but as y'all know, it takes that long to jump through the hoops. Basically, what it is, we have project worksheets that were submitted, and I have to, behind me, the department heads and also the sheriff's office, it's not there's no I in team. It's all coming together, and I just appreciate the other department head members. This was not their first hurricane, Hermine. We had to go through Hermine, but we learned a lot during Hermine. And the reason why I mentioned the department heads, they know what the state and feds are looking for as far as worksheets, how much employees are making, what is actually done. A lot of people think they just go out and start cleaning up, but it doesn't work like that. Especially the feds, they want photos, they want cubic yards, they want man hours, time hours, machine hours. You don't just go and send them a bill, well, this is how much it was. But before you is an agreement between the state and the county. How it rolls is the feds send the money down to the state and the state distributes it. Happy to say it seems that we kinda got delayed there, and it seems like when a new governor stepped in, kinda expedited this program. So now you see a lot of counties like ours that were sitting idle. The state is on our heels now, hey, this money is obligated now. So that's why it's in front of you, and basically the bottom line on this agreement, if it is not signed, we will not get the money. But I'm happy to report today that the total amount that they are looking at was listed at $147,751. Now, this money is just not for emergency management. Once these project worksheets come in, such as the road department, EMS, all the departments that, took action during the hurricane prior to and after, the project worksheets were obligated, so that money will go back to those departments, to refund them on their financial burden on this. Other than that, does anybody have any questions? We went through this during her meeting, and it was pretty much, as Attorney Reed said, if it doesn't get signed, we don't get the money. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't have a question, just a comment, I guess.
Yes, sir.
The wheels of government turn slow, don't they?
I'll keep that comment. It is, and I understand, financially, they just don't wanna jump out, and I'm glad they don't, and I'm glad that we dot our i's and cross our t's, because what happens, and this has happened in some counties, and that's why we rely on our attorney a lot. They'll put in these project worksheets, and the government comes out and gives you that money, and guess what? 5-10 years later, you get audited, and now they come out and say, oh, by the way, you owe us $50,000. So that's why I'd rather take my time, dot my i's, cross my t's, work with other departments, and submit the right paperwork at the right time.
Okay. All right, well, that makes sense. Mr. Chair, motion is in order. I move that we approve this, grant award.
Second.
All those in favor? All opposed, same sign. Mr. William, I am signing it as you speak.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I will make one.
Great deal of places to sign, and I put those little, sticky notes on there for.
I'm finding, Ms. Washington's helping me find all the, sticky notes. Next time, please stick them out the edge so I can see them.
Hey, you notice I spelled your name right too.
No, you didn't.
Like that.
You spelled my name wrong in every place. Well, I'm gonna forgive you this time.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wood. All right, number 5, discussion regarding our meeting on the 27th. We have a legislative review meeting that day in Tallahassee, and I think we're gonna need to talk about that. Discussion or motion is in order.
I hope we will all be able to attend. I'm checking my calendar now.
I plan on going to, I think I put in my paperwork, go to the legislative day and some of the training, but I really hadn't planned to go to that evening, because
No.
we had a meeting that night.
Well, it is an evening meeting. I plan to go because I'm gonna do my ethics that day, and I'm probably gonna attend some of the other meetings.
The ethics was on Tuesday.
It is on Tuesday. We can, the discussion is, do we wanna attend the, function that night, or do we wanna just come back for the meeting? Don't everybody speak at once.
Well, I do plan on attending legislative day. Is there any paperwork we need to
I
turn in?
just need to know if you wanna go and if there's any additional training sessions you want to attend.
I do want to attend the legislative day, but I'm not aware of any training sessions that I need to attend.
Okay.
I think you've got your certifications and advance, so.
Yes.
I think I'm good on all certificates except my ethics. I do need to make sure you put me in for ethics on Tuesday.
The legislative day is Wednesday.
Right.
There is
right.
a a formal gathering, meet and greet, and networking luncheon that evening,
Right.
or dinner that evening.
Well,
I didn't sign up for that because I felt like we had a meeting, but that's up to y'all.
I do need to attend that training, that's once a year training.
Right.
Yeah, so
I do.
that ethics training.
Yeah. Well, that's on Tuesday, we were talking about Wednesday. The meeting Wednesday night is a very good networking meeting, but, you know, if y'all feel that we need to come back and do the meeting, or we can extend it to the following week.
Can we just change it from Tuesday or Thursday? Is that, you think we might have anything pressing or pending on the agenda that we need to?
Well, no, Thursday and Friday, they have the other, certification classes going on Thursday and Friday.
And I just wanted to point out, on March 28th, if you would change it to Thursday at 6 o'clock, is the MCDC Vision 2030 meeting.
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
Um,
So Thursday's out.
Yeah, Thursday's out. We're through, you and I'll be through with ethics, I think it, well, no, not, it's hard for that.
Well, that's
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah, well, I was thinking about doing Tuesday.
What time does the classes finish up on Wednesday?
There's no classes.
No class, there's no class.
That's just legislative.
It's just a legislative day,
And then that night.
and since we have no representative at this time, we'll be meeting probably with Mr. Montford, Senator Montford. And there is a meeting that PAC will have prior to that, now, are we meeting in the,
Challenger
Learning Center? We're all meeting there again.
what we've done in the past, fact, we have it morning orientation. In noontime, we will see our legislators.
Right.
And probably Senator Montford, like Chairman said, be on mic to talk with.
Yeah, Senator Montford's gonna be the only one, and my thought is that that's gonna leave us a lot of dead time in the afternoon, so, you know, if y'all, I mean, I go with the pleasure of the board, but, just throwing it out, it's gonna give us some dead time in the afternoon if we wanna just come on back and have our meeting that night. Do we know anything pressing on the agenda that night
No, sir.
at this time? Okay.
I mean, it would be my opinion that we not reschedule our meeting or postpone it. I think we have business here to take care of, and we need to take care of our business.
Correct. Okay.
I agree with you.
All right.
Yeah,
By consent.
I'll be here at 6 o'clock.
All right, by consent, I think without a vote, I think consensus, we'll go ahead and continue the meeting on as scheduled on the 27th, okay? All right, moving back to Public Works, Mr. Lonnie, I didn't mean to, but I want to get some of the other things out of the way, I knew people were waiting. I'm gonna give you the floor for most of the, at least the first three.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I haven't had a chance to talk to Lonnie about this, but the Greenville, fire station,
Right.
we've only got one price on that, and I would like to get some additional prices.
Okay.
On that, if it's okay with y'all, that I
All right.
refer that to the.
Well, let's
to the
refer
next
that to
meeting.
the 27th meeting then.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mr. Lonnie, you wanna go ahead with number 2 and number 3?
Yes, sir, on number 2, we had two locations of some culverts on Fellowship Road we had to replace a couple of years ago. And one culvert we replaced on Osteen and on Friendship roads. These are all near the Sermons area, if you're familiar with those roads. We had one place on Friendship, we had to dig up some tree roots. It was approximately 850 foot long. I had asked the Scruggs Company and Anderson Columbia are also doing some paving in the area through a DOT project to give me quotes for those repairs. We should have a quote from the Scruggs Company for 2 locations, 20 foot wide, 100 foot long. One location on Osteen, 20 foot wide, 100 foot long. And one location on Friendship Road, 20 foot wide, 850 foot long, for a total of $50,500. And that will go in and scrape the lime rock and the grass back, and they'll come in and trench the road with a little milling machine to get a good smooth joint and pave over those areas that the asphalt is missing. I also got the same quote. I got those same distances to Anderson, Columbia. They're gonna be on 150 south of Greenville. They'll be in the area as well. And we got those same quotes from them for $51,577 total if you add all three of those together. It would be my recommendation to go with the Scruggs Company for $50,500.
That be my motion.
Second. All right, have a motion and a second for the Scruggs, bid. Any further discussion?
Just only question is, you know, when we're looking at averages per mile of paving, is that that's a little over 1,000 feet? From what I was figuring, that's pretty.
Yes, sir.
pretty comparable
And,
to what we're paying per mile.
I think so. I think that's pretty close to what we expected.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Pass 5-0. All right, going on to discussion regarding truck, tire changing machine, for road department.
Yes, sir. We talked about this, I guess, a couple months ago, about a tire machine for our facilities out at the road department shop for our larger tires with truck tires and, specifically, more importantly, I guess, greater tires. Those have gotten quite expensive to get those changed out, and we're running out of options of who wants to pull those bigger tires. We did, or you guys did vote for a cheaper bid. I think it was around $5,600 and some odd earlier. Once we got that bid, we got with that company to purchase that machine. We found out their headquarters are located in California. They would not accept a purchase order to send a machine up. They wanted us to pay for the machine up front, then they'd ship it to us. I have a problem with a company that wants to pay up front, and then we may not see the machine. They're in California, and we're out of money. So we do still have those original quotes. I included those in your packet. There's one from the Greg Smith Equipment Company for $7,200. They're located in Georgia. We've already talked to them. They don't have a problem taking PO for the equipment. It will probably be in reality easier for us to get the machine serviced out of Georgia than it would California. We did have another quote from a company called RE Hetra for $11,696.46. So if you would allow me to, I would recommend that we take the quote for $7,200 from the Greg Smith Equipment Company.
That's my motion, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second, take the Greg Smith, you say Greg Smith Company?
Yes, sir. Greg Smith Equipment Company.
Equipment Company, all right. I have a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to number 4, we wanna have discussion about the, hey, who wants to go first?
I can start it off.
All
I
right.
agenda, there ain't no problem. I've been getting a few calls from some of the employees, and so I went and talked to some of them. And their thing is, they scared to death to even talk to the commission, and they've been told that if they talk to the commission, they might lose their job. But, we can address that part later. But, you know, we started this 14-hour days back in June of 2008. And it seems to me that it's been working, you know, from there up until now. My thing is, I don't feel like it's broken. There might be some cracks in it, but I think we maybe need to fill the cracks in and just leave it like it is. It's gonna be inconvenient, and I know these employees work for the county, but it's gonna be some inconvenience with them having to go 5 days, or some of them got other jobs on Friday. And I know the job that they own should be the number one job. But with looking at all of that, I just feel like that, the employees should have some say-so in it. The employees is taxpayers, you know, even though they might work for the county. I don't feel like it's right for them to feel like they can't come and talk to the commission. And what I tell them, I say, you know, follow the chain of command. You know, you got supervisors, you got a manager, and do that. But the morale is down real low from talking to them, and I just think that we need to address it now. I heard that it was gonna change in April. That's what I was told. Brian hadn't told me that, and, but that's when I heard it was gonna change. So I feel like we need to leave it like it is, and I just let some other commissioners talk that we don't talk about.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I and also was contacted by numerous employees, and kind of like Commissioner Martin said, then I was told later that they were told they couldn't contact their commissioner, and I run on accessibility and accountability, and I'm accessible to every resident of the county. I believe in chain of command, and I believe we should support our county manager, but we also need to give him a direction the way the board is looking. Quite a few of these employees, probably well over 50%, work a part-time job to supplement their income for their families. And it's a perk that we can give them. It's been going on now for approximately 10 years. And I had a long conversation with Brian, and he was concerned about not having coverage on Friday. And I've not had any calls from anybody that's complained. But if there are, then if we have to go to 5-day work weeks, then I suggest we do 2 shifts, a Monday, Thursday, and a Tuesday, Friday, and then we do have coverage. But I'm concerned about the morale of the employees, and morale equals productivity, and when your morale's in the tank, your productivity's in the tank. So I support staying on 4 10s of some kind.
All right, thank you for your comments. Any other commissioners?
Yeah, I'll speak on it. And I have had the complaints about accessibility, and I have had the complaints about productivity. And, my thoughts are that just like us, we serve the citizens, just like the other county employees, the sheriff's office including, there, of course, y'all know, I'm just giving an example, I mean, he's accountable to the citizens as we are. And I feel that if we're losing productivity, and I've broached some of this conversation with Brian in the past on how we can do that. I mean, what happens if another department comes to us and says, well, we wanna go to 4-day work weeks? You know, how's that gonna, what happens if this get annexed here? And of course, the other constitutionals can do it, but if they say, you know, well, we don't wanna work on Fridays, you know? We just made a decision, had a conversation in here about, we expect our county offices to be open till 5 o'clock every Monday through Friday. You know, and it's just, my concern is when I get that call, and it always happens on Thursday afternoon, that it's, well, I'm sorry, well, you won't see anybody till Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever they can get to you. And to me, that's not providing service to the public. Now, I understand that I've worked with employees all my career, you know, but there is a fine line between the two. But in my opinion, our commitment should be to the public, you know, when it comes to getting the services that they expect to get at a very limited amount of budget that we have today. And I also talked to Brian about splitting the road department. And see, this is road department. This has nothing to do with sanitation, right? Are y'all on 5 days, Clay?
Well, we're actually work 6 days a week, so ours is a rigmarole either way you go.
You know? But anyway, I've talked to Brian about the feasibility of splitting, you know, having half a crew on Friday and half a crew on Monday. You know, but I just think we need to be available. And if it means going to 5 days a week, then I think we need to do 5 days a week. Availability to the public, that's where my concern is and my interest is.
Well, this board and the employees, we all serve the public. We all put here by the public. And I've heard some valid concerns from everybody that has spoken yet. Brian, we've had some conversations about it, and I've talked with some county employees about it. But I think before we make a decision, we might need to look at our personnel policy, if we're gonna make any changes, because as I understand the policy right now, the coordinator or county manager has discretion to do what he feels is best for the county. And as I say, it's a sensitive topic or subject, and before we make any decisions on it, let's look at that personnel policy. And if we need to fine tune it, that might be what we need to do.
Well, let me just say, I have heard complaints, both from a few employees or relatives of employees, and I have also about going to 5 days because of them, some of them having part-time jobs, and I certainly respect that. But I have to also say that I agree with Mr. Kaufman and also Mr. Davis that we serve the public. The voters put us here. And one thing that I hear, and not a lot of, but I do hear comments made that you can't ever find anybody on Friday. And it's usually, and I'm not picking on you, Mr. Lonnie, but the road department next to Mr. Blair's department are probably the ones that get seen by most county employees out on the road. The constitutional officers, unless they come to their office, they don't see it, but what they see is the road department out there doing work or not doing work, say on Friday. Mr. Blair, actually, your department probably gets spared a little bit. They may not realize some of if you have some employees full-time that are working 4 10s or working 5 days a week, whichever, the majority of the public, I think, sees our part-time employees who are working 28 hours anyway, and dividing up the days, working the 6 days a week you're talking about at the collection centers. That's where the average John Q. public sees that department. And they see they see our sheriff's department out working 7 days a week. They see EMS running up and down the road, 10, 18, and 7 days a week, and so forth. And I think we have to really consider it, and I think we owe it to our county coordinator. We hired a county coordinator to manage the departments, and I think we need to consider that when we're trying to make a decision. It's ultimately our decision. The 5 of us have to make that decision, and whichever way it goes, we need to support it. But I think that said, I think we need to seriously take a look at this and think long and hard about it. So that's all I'm saying.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, and I support the chain of command, and Brian and I have talked to this quite a few times, and I'm not trying to undermine his authority or his position. I just am asking for the board's direction as the wish of the board, and whatever the majority of the board says as a unified board, we should support.
Right.
And we'll support as well.
Yeah. You know, I checked with some of the surrounding counties, matter of fact, 5. Swanee County, Jefferson County, Hamilton County, Taylor County, Lafayette County. And all them counties is working 4 days a week, 10 hours a day. And I don't think Madison is that much different. I don't see why we can't do it. And they about on the same population as, matter of fact, Swanee County, bigger than Madison, but they doing it. And I think DOT is working.
I believe it's
Yeah, I think DOT is doing the same thing.
They're working 4 10s.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes,
add a little bit to it?
Yes, sir.
This is a decision that has weighed heavy on my heart for a long time. And I've talked to each commissioner about it for months now. We've talked about it. And it's a hard decision, very hard, because Lonnie and Joe and Buddy and several other people, I've known them for 20 years, you know. And I know what having 3 days off means to them, whether they, whatever they do with that 3 days. And I know what it means to them. It's a very difficult decision from that angle. From the public side, it is not a difficult decision for me at all. Because I know being available 5 days a week to the public is the best for the public. That's 52 Fridays that office is closed, that you can't get a permit, you can't call with a complaint. So from that side, it's an easy decision for me. The tough side is making the decision because I know what it means to the employees. But as I've told y'all, where I have to come from is, based on the guidance from y'all, and I have heard a lot of complaints over the last 6 months. And a lot of it stems from people do not feel that we get as much work done with the 4-day weeks that we do the 5-day weeks. So with, taking that into account, that's why I feel that this is a good decision for the public.
Mr. Chairman, may I have a comment?
Yes, sir.
When we came to the board back in '08, the original reason for us going to a 4-day week, and I think a couple of you were on the board at the time, it was to save money to the county. Basically for travel time, our crews normally park in the field. So you've got fuel that you're using a truck to haul the operators to their machine, plus the labor. Normally anywhere we park in the county, it's gonna take about 30 minutes to get there. So you've got at least an hour travel time for the majority of our crew that are going from the shop to their machines and back in the afternoon. So when you consider the travel time of the truck itself and the employee was the main reason. It wasn't for the guys to get a second job. It wasn't for us to have a 3-day weekend. That, to me, is irrelevant. But it was originally started to save the county money. Now, in order to go back to a 5-day week, we've got to add 25% of that cost of travel time back into the 5-day week, because we're working 4 days and you've got that travel time, you're gonna have to travel another day. And it will be another cost to the employees to get to their job. That's an issue they'll deal with. And all my employees know this job comes first. And you as a board give us direction and guidelines of how we work. And if you guys vote to go to a 5-day work week, you won't hear me say another word about anything. But the original reason for us going to a 4-day week was to save money to the county. And we're all strapped for funds. And 40 hours is 40 hours, whether you work 4 days or 5 days. I don't know how and we do have on-call people on Friday. It's not like we're totally not available. Yes, we don't have the graders out there and the dump trucks and everything else. But if there's an emergency comes up and we need to take care of it, we've got an on-call crew runs right through the weekend. So the original reason for us going to the 4-day week was to save money to the county. It really had nothing to do with the secondary jobs or us having a 3-day week. As Mr. Martin said, most of the other surrounding counties do that for a reason. They're not doing it so their employees can have a 3-day weekend. And we've been doing it for 11 years. And I'll leave it on.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing. If we do elect to go to 5 days, I would propose, if that comes down to it, 5 8-hour days is 40 hours. If we do a split shift, 5 10-hour days would be 50 hours exposure. We would be covering the county 10 more hours of exposure in a week than we would on 5 days. You'd have 5 days a week, 10 hours a day. It's 50 hours.
We could look at.
No, but I thought we were going to 5 8-hour days.
I think that was the original plan. Yeah.
I propose that if I do.
You gotta go into overtime.
No, I propose doing, swing shift, one crew work Monday through Thursday, and one Tuesday through Friday, so then you would actually have 50 hours.
You're still not planning your employees 40 hours, you're just putting
I
them.
see where you're coming from.
You're just giving 10 hours coverage to the county, if that be the case.
If I may respond to that, and this is something we've been working on ever since Clay has taken over at Solid Waste. When we hired the new office assistant out there, she went 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. So we had somebody, before the office at Solid Waste was closed on Fridays too. I've worked with Jamie at Animal Control about 3 months ago. Jamie went to basically a split shift. Jamie and Clint. Jamie works Mondays, they work together Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Clint works Friday. The challenge with that, and it gives us more hours available to the public unless somebody gets sick. So when Jamie got sick or a couple Mondays ago, I had nobody Monday. And that's what's gonna happen with the road department. Say I have roughly 20 guys, I'm working 4 days a week right now. I go to 5 days a week, I can't hardly do it with my hands, but I cut my shifts in half. So I got 10 people come in Monday, 10 people come in Friday. 3 people called in sick Monday. I can't work, that's only 7 people. And Mondays are always gonna be big because people calling in on the weekends. What do we gotta do to fix? So now I'm crippled on Mondays and Fridays. And I go back to what's the best for the public. Best for the public is I got my whole hand. I work, I got all my fingers. I can work.
Just one more comment, and I'm done with it. My only comment is I support the coordinator's efforts to try to make it be as efficient as possible and provide the services. And I feel like if it's to rotate to those types of days, on and off, I'm gonna support that. Other than, the only reason I've had these conversations with him for the last 6 years that I've been on this board is the complaints I continue to get about folks in my community don't feel like they're getting the services that they pay for. That's the only reason I've had those discussions with him. I totally agree with the support the employees. I have employees work for me. I've had employees I've worked with over many years, and we've had to rotate shifts and schedules around to accommodate, and always been the goal to accommodate who we work for. And that's all I would have to say.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Moore.
can we hear some comments from the public?
I think I was gonna say, is there anybody from the public who would like to? Now.
Yes, my name's Lori Korn, and as I sit here listening to this, I'm retired now, but my experience, I was a vice president of human resources for over 20 years. And my first thought is, anytime you change anything, the employees are gonna complain. Because that's what they do, they're resistant to change, they don't like it, okay? And over the years, I have countless changes that we have to get employees to adapt to, okay? Secondly, it kind of concerns me that county employees are approaching board members to whine about work-related things. I know they're taxpayers, but we had the same thing. I attended a City of Madison Commission meeting a few months ago, and a city employee very publicly in front of everybody started griping about the amount of her pay raise and what she should be paid and, whatever. And I was shocked. I certainly see as taxpayers, yes, if there's some service the county provides or whatever, but I believe it should be addressed in your personnel policies if it isn't already. The reinforced chain of command, and they should not take the opportunity to whine to commissioners, discuss, we won't call it whining, when something happens at work that they don't like. That's just my opinion. I do think your first and foremost, your duty is to the citizens of Madison County who elected you, and if they feel like they need service 5 days a week, they should get it.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the general public, I wouldn't plan to have no involvement whatsoever, and I don't need any, new enemies. But that's the commissioner's position to listen at the public. And they are guaranteed access to their government, however we feel. And I would like to Mr. Kaufman, has there been any studies that is, the number of complaints that you're getting about the coverage? Yeah, has there been any studies that find out, is it really worth bringing, the employees back to a 5-day?
No, sir, I can't give you a definitive number of them, but like I said, this is the feedback I get from the commissioners, and also feedback I do get from the public, because when they call the road department on Friday and no one answers, then they call my office, and so then I get the calls. and the commissioners get the calls as well, but, because they're gonna talk to somebody. But it really just goes back to accessibility. And I also have several other departments, as they mentioned. Why can't they all go to 4 days a week? We could all go to 4 days a week, but that's not in the best interest of the public, to go to 4 days a week. The public works typically 5 days a week, and I believe we should be working 5 days a week to serve them.
Well, certain administrators I can see, but the road department, or sanitation, especially if there's a big celebration weekend, or holidays, or whatever, I can understand that. But have we did a good enough job of informing the general public of just what he just said? The reason why we went to the 4 day was to save the county money.
Yes, sir, but I do not believe, from what I see in the budgets and what I see on the work schedules, that we are not saving that additional money. You do really, that would be such a fine line to see, that you've got 30 minutes to get from your work post to get to the tractor and get to work. I believe there's enough time lost in there already that we're not seeing that gain in productivity. And so really, to go back to a 5-day work week, and I'll throw this in there a little bit. I run tractors on my weekends, and if you really run that tractor, if you really work, 10 hours is a long day in that seat. You will be fatigued at the end of that day, and I start to get sloppy on the tractor and either make mistakes or tear the tractor up. But really, 8 hours is plenty in the seat of that tractor. But I really go back to accessibility. That I go back to my hand. I got 5 fingers, and I need to be working all 5 days for the public.
Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Dell Langston, and I'm a member of Madison County, a citizen of Madison County. And I want to say that I'm retired now, but I worked 46 years in the private sector. And with corporations, they have a different view than a lot of government does. And what it is productivity. Productivity is how they judge how their employees are going to work. They don't consider, the specific needs of every individual. It's basically how the organization is going to function, what is best to serve the community and their customers. And I think it would serve our government if they would adopt more of those ideals from private sector, in the idea of what works best for the population in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Any other comments?
Cindy, that's how I look at it. I mean, I wouldn't run my business 4 days a week.
Right.
And this is my business.
Right.
And my business is to serve the public. So they're my customers.
Well, I think that's true. I feel that the county voters, the county citizens are our employees. They're the constituents, I should say, that come in to do business with us, and we're the ones who, they're the ones who are going to say whether we are in office. I think we have to make the best decision for all county employees from one end of the county to the other. Saying that, we'll say the board, is there a motion, or do we want to table it, or what is the feeling of the board?
I make a motion, we stay on 410s.
I have a motion to stay on 410s.
I second it.
I have a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I think before we make a decision, we need to look at the personnel policy.
Exactly.
We got some stipulations in that personnel policy that we might need to look at, and haven't heard what everybody has said, moving forward. I'll make a motion that we table it, our next meeting.
Well, that, not only our personnel policy, but also our agreement with the county coordinator, delegating him to his responsibility to run the day-to-day operations of our different
That's true.
departments. And I think if we circumvent that, then we're going against the nature of what our duties are. And mine would be, I oppose that measure to try to do that right there.
Mr. Chairman, you've got a motion to table, you need a second before we go into discussion.
All right.
Motion to table.
He did second.
He seconded,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. Martin seconded. He
Wait,
did.
you had a motion and a second to stay on 410.
410.
Right.
But the table
And then the
overrides.
table, there was a second on the table?
The table is the superior motion and has to be dealt with first, but you gotta have a second to the motion.
That's what I was asking, I didn't know someone
Yeah, you got the second to the table.
Yes, I second.
Your second motion table.
All right, so we have a motion to table this,
No, you gotta rescind it. You had a motion to stay on 410.
No,
no, he made a
All right,
motion.
wait a minute.
He made a motion to table.
Mr. Chair, point of order. Let's listen to our council.
Okay, I believe what happened was that Mr. Waldron made a motion to stay on the 410s. Commissioner Martin seconded the motion to stay on the 410s. Commissioner Moore made a motion to table. I don't believe anyone seconded the motion to table.
I'll second.
Okay, and then the motion to table is the superior motion and has to be dealt with.
Yes, I understand, yes, all right, the motion is to table this discussion until this can be looked at through our personnel policy and the contract with the county coordinator with the county commission. All those in favor of that motion? Aye. I have, any opposed? That passes 5-0. We will table that until next meeting on 27th.
And we'll get y'all copies of
Yes.
those documents.
And, yeah, we will need copies of the personnel policy as well as our contract with you.
Okay, and then that's gonna be an agenda item.
Right. That'll be agenda item on the 27th.
To discuss that motion, the original motion, correct? It's an agenda item to discuss the original motion of staying on 410, so that motion's still there, that's what they tabled with that motion.
That's right, that's correct.
I don't know that I would necessarily phrase the agenda item that way, though, because the board wants the ability to do it.
Well, the discussion, should we, agenda it as discussion on personnel?
This agenda, whenever.
I did want to add one thing just so you know, the original, when we amended the agenda, there's a discussion regarding work week and pay schedule, so that's something I haven't addressed yet, with the pay schedule part of that, just so you know.
All right, I would, my recommendation would be that we table both categories or both subjects and discuss it at the same time. We can do that, because I think that may come under personnel policy too, as Mr. Moore.
And that'll give us a chance to review the personnel policy, because I think all that's in the policy.
Okay. All right, so we will table that to the 27th. That concludes the agenda items. Mr. Bell, do you have any comments?
No, sir.
Mr. Sheriff?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one thing. I mentioned a lady earlier in my part of the time, and
Yeah.
she was able to come. She got delayed earlier. I wanted y'all to meet her. She's got an issue with Bentley, and I've talked about it, and we've been working it, but I know that she's in the process of putting in a request for speed bumps, and I've already told y'all, I'll support that, and she's here. And if y'all have any questions of her, I think the process is already, she's working on the petition part, but I just want y'all to, anything y'all can do to help her. I think she's been talking with Commissioner Martin, and he's working on it. Is that
Yes,
correct?
I talked to her, and I told her when she come in, it's past the time for a petition from the public, she got here late. But I gave her the papers that she need to get filled out, and once she get them done, we'll move with the process.
In the meantime, y'all met Odell, you already knew him, but he's been working that as one of our other traffic deputies, but there's only so many hours of the day and how much time do they have, they can't stay down there. They have other parts of the county, I mentioned 53 North and some of the other areas that are working with a lot of complaints, so speed bumps would certainly be the end-all, be-all, I believe, to at least put a permanent fix so that any, because they're actually doing some drag racing down there, but trying to catch that is like trying to catch people littering.
Sure.
Anyway, thank you, I just wanted y'all to see her, and that she is here, and that she is concerned.
I certainly think in the areas like that, neighborhoods are very, very feasible. As you well know, we've had other requests for speed bumps on open highways out there that would be extremely dangerous. So I want to just clarify that with you, that you don't support all of them,
Right.
certain circumstances.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
if I may ask Mr. Thigpen while he's up,
Yes, sir.
there are some regulations from DOT on speed bumps, aren't there?
I believe on the open roadway,
Road,
but I
open
believe
road.
in a private, or in a subdivision area, we've got speed bumps in that area.
Okay.
There are many speed bumps in that area already, so I don't think that would be, Mr. Steve's might can tell you otherwise, but I think those regulations are more like he's talking about the open roadways. And that's gonna be coming on some of these roadways we're
Yeah,
working on.
I'm sure, oh, yeah, I'm sure,
Just a heads up.
yeah.
Yeah, well, heads up, you make me sound mighty casual. My name is Sophia Smith.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, but you can put it there, I want in 3 minutes right quick like.
Sure.
You don't know me, but you're gonna get to know me.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a disabled veteran, I'm a registered voter. This is not my first complaint. I've been making this complaint for years. So don't take this casual.
We know.
There's a lot of senior citizens, there's a church on that street, and there's a lot of children on that street. Eventually, someone's gonna wind up getting hurt. So this is very serious and very deep to my heart. Now, those speed bumps need to be placed on that street,
Yes, ma'am.
so don't take it lightly.
And
Speaking
I
of other
apologize.
places,
I
but this
apologize.
needs to be done.
Yes, ma'am, and like I said, we just have a little process we have to go through. to get
I
there.
understand that, and I'm working on that process.
Correct.
And I've been making my complaint for years.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm not going away. So not only are you gonna get to know me on this issue, but you're gonna get to know me on other issues. And the council, you all will get to know me, because I'm gonna look into your job descriptions as well, because I have other complaints for the community. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Mr. Blair, you have any comments?
Have a nice
Commissioner
day.
Moore?
Just big pen.
Yes, ma'am. No, sir, Mr. Chair, I yield my time.
Mr. Chair, I do want to not beat the dead horse. I'm not trying to circumvent the policy. I just asked for direction from the board, which I support the chain of command. Florida Sunshine Law will not allow us to discuss this except in an open meeting, and that's why I was bringing it up.
That is correct.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Reed?
No, sir, unless you have questions.
Mr. Davis?
Just that the next, River Task Force meeting will be February 28th at 4 p.m. The next sitting. That's in conjunction with our regional planning council meeting. We're trying to plan or get on the agenda for the city of Valdosta's, council meeting on March 14th. I think they meet the second and fourth Thursday of each month at 5:30. And Mr. Coons is looking at getting on their agenda with the idea or the plan is he should be presenting to our staff a draft resolution that we're asking all 12 counties to pass based on the issues that are occurring or have occurred most recently with Valdosta wastewater treatment plants. Mr. Coons is still trying to get a part of our plans with the task force to get a higher ranking or someone who's got some say-so in DEP at the table with the task force, and he hasn't been successful with that yet, but he is still working on that. Just giving you guys an update as I get information on what's going on with the task force. Brian and I attended Economic Development Summit Monday afternoon and yesterday in Kissimmee. It was funded by the NFEDP. And a lot of information here from the Florida Chamber, which I plan to give to our local chamber, which they work closely with the Florida Chamber. But there's a lot of good information on here, especially when it comes to our Visioning 2030 committee. It has to do with workforce, future of the workforce, training our workforce and all that. What I found most interesting is, you know, y'all heard and y'all been given information or told that we're the poorest county in the state. Looking a lot of the Florida Chamber's presentation that Mr. Parrish gave us, one of the key things that I found that probably attributes to that is, and talking when Mr. Matera was in here a while ago, 51% of our youth 18 years or under, according to their studies, live in the poverty level in this county. And Madison County being one of 4 of the highest counties in the state with their study showing of 18 years and under living in the poverty level. And those are the ones that we're targeting to try to develop our workforce in the future. So anyway, having said that, I was gonna get with Phyllis and so maybe there's some information with our Vision 2030 committee, as you know, that it will be on March the 28th here at, and I'm sorry, but Lord, what's the venue?
Church of God.
Yeah, Church of God, I'm sorry about it. But anyway, I would definitely put that on your calendar if I was, you know, if you can, be involved in that, so. Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Martin?
No, I have everything.
I just want to take a moment and tell you that I attended the Swanee River Water Management meeting yesterday on behalf of the commission. And the representative from Valdosta was there. He spoke for approximately an hour and showed slides and presentation of what they're trying to do up there. I think there was a lot of feeling among the group as well as the board. Mr. Reeves may want to comment on that, but I think the feeling is there's been more sewage dumpage than they want to readily admit at this time. They seem to be talking more about wastewater, rainwater, and manhole covers. It seemed that they were more concerned about repairing manhole covers than having retention ponds and so forth on their campus. And that was kind of the message I came away with. Would you agree, Mr. Reeves?
Yeah, the biggest takeaway I took from it was that whenever there's an announced spill, there is significant testing and that sort of stuff that goes on. There's not a continued regular testing. One of the gentlemen, I don't remember his name, from one of the groups, the river people groups, had suggested a weekly testing of that river, both before and after that site, so that you could have that background data and you wouldn't be necessarily dependent on when spills are announced. You would know that, would have that data. Of course, that's expensive, and so that's one of the things, you know, that the county may wish to think about is funding something along those lines. And then you've got a, you know, if you know that it's a clean test before Valdosta and something spikes after, you have a good idea as whether something occurred. And, you know, that's just something you might want to think about, but that of course is a policy decision, and that's money.
Sure.
My understanding from that, from DEP's perspective or the health department, I thought they done random pools anyway. From what I've been told in the past is, I thought they were doing weekly or monthly. Jen, you know more about that probably from some of the things you was that your understanding?
Well, can I jump in?
Yeah.
Because they didn't say that yesterday.
Yes, they did.
The DOH said that DOH only tests after an announced spill, and they have some reason. There's no regular testing with DOH.
Correct.
And that the DEP was testing once a month, and that was their regular testing.
And if I may, and I'm not trying to cut again on that,
Yeah.
I want to jump in and say, I would think that it might be something that the task force takes a look at, that possibly each county, possibly look at investing in some kind of water testing where, like Mr. Reeves mentioned, where we have a baseline that, weekly, here's what the level is, and during a spill or after a spill, here's what it peaks at or spikes at, whatever, because I think we need more information that we're currently not getting right now. And they mentioned that there was a lot of talk about E. coli and being in wells, especially along the river and in the river itself and the wells near the river. And that's something that apparently can only be tested by DOH that has to get to their lab and within 6 hours. We're fortunate and we have a lab here in Madison that Kim Albritton has assured me that we could test for E. coli along the river. I don't know that every other county has that availability. Luckily within, if it is a 6 hour period, I think everybody, for the most part, at least in the immediate area, could get to our lab if it's a certified lab for that. So
Mr. Chair, would be my deal, I will approach the task force on trying to leverage getting DEP to take that on. I think that's something that the state agencies should be doing and not relying on the local
Well, I agree, the
counties
state
to
should
do
be,
it.
yeah.
And I mean, push come to
Yeah.
shove, if we as a board decide we wanna invest in doing it weekly, then if that's what we need to do, we will. But I think we need to approach our state agencies that fall into that regulatory portion anyway.
Can't disagree.
And get them to do it.
While we're on that subject, I read an interesting article in the Valdosta Daily Times concerning this, and I'm trying to think of the guy's name that wrote the article.
Mr. Quartermain, he is the
Quartermain.
Walls, river keepers.
Yeah, he's the, river keeper.
He's the one that suggested the legal test.
Right.
He was, yeah.
And he does
was
it,
there.
I see, personally, I'm
Yeah.
familiar with him, I talked to him.
Okay, well, he had several points, and from what I've been learning about it, I don't think they were very valid in my opinion. But what I'll do, I'll try and, scan it to Brian, and he can scan it to y'all and let y'all read it.
I read the article, I think you sent it out to everybody, didn't you?
I forwarded it to all the commissioners.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
all right, well, it's in there, they do a editorial in the newspaper also that will be a good source of, keeping up to date on that. I just wanted to throw that out.
Thank you. Any further comments? If not, I'll call meeting adjourned.